Hello, ladies. Good evening. I love my little microphone I have because as soon as it lights up, it's time to record. Today, we are going to talk about what is pretty privilege, and I'm also going to be sharing a story of me growing up with pretty privilege. This can go for a small minority of us. I've personally experienced pretty privilege going up, but I didn't know about it because this is a term that's kind of pretty new. I want to say a few years new. And we start realizing how pretty people get treated versus people who are like average or like under average and don't look as better. But I think we're all God's children. We all look beautiful in God's eyes, but this is in society's eyes, which is way different. So I will even look up the definition of pretty privilege. So if you go on the internet and you type in what is pretty privilege, you're going to, the first thing that pops up is body privilege, because that's a type of pretty privilege. And it pops up on Wikipedia. So the first thing that it says is body privilege or pretty privilege is a concept used to examine the economic, social, and political advantages or benefits that are made to both men and women solely based on their physical appearance. And I think there's a lot of good things that come with pretty privilege. You can actually use it to build yourself up in your career. Use it against your enemies. It's so many things you could do with pretty privilege, but I want to use it in a malicious intent. Um, One thing I want to say that's good is usually get like doors open for you. People usually give you flowers. You're usually seen as the more flirty one. I guess that could be a positive, but like you're really seen as like some people are going to think, well, depending on what gender, or I've noticed it growing up, is that I didn't really know. So, like, a lot of people would think, like, I was kind of dumb. And then when I actually open my mouth, they're like, wow, she's actually really not that stupid. But downsides is you get, like, jealousy, hating as hoes. So, that's actually like a really bad thing because especially in a workplace it's kind of like high school but like a little bit worse because it's like tight knit and you work with the same people, so you will get like jealousy and hate from mainly more women, but men on the other hand they do as well. So you would think like men would just be like, oh my gosh, she's gorgeous, like let me go up to her, let me talk to her, ask her out. No, it's actually like really like I think it's a imbalance when it comes to like men who know they can't really get with you, but that's their reality in their mind. And instead of like actually like growing a pair, going up to her, saying, hey, like I'm actually like interested in you, they'll sit there and do like very passive aggressive things, pit women together. I have a story of how I came to realize that I was in this pretty privileged category because it actually took a very, very, very long time for me to realize that I'm in this category. So, first, I want to start out with my childhood, and I didn't really have the most mentally stable environment. I mean, I had finances. I lived in a nice area, nice houses. I wasn't really, my mom did not play that. My dad, well, on his end, I don't know where he really cared where I was at, but my mom was like, really, I'm going to have my kids like in a nice area. A lot of my friends are and family, old family, were actually from like the hood. So, and I don't really want to give a specific place because I feel like that's just like too linked to like knowing who I am. And I have like 100 reasons why I'm staying anonymous. to protect my identity and my privacy. If I ever got back on YouTube, I would just hope and pray nobody would like match up my voice with like other videos, because like I do plan on making a second channel. So I'm just gonna hope for the best. But I mean, like, if people find out, link it up, it's like, okay, you found out. But just not right now. I'm not ready for that. But growing up, I had lived in a two-parent household. I had a older sister by 4 years. Only thing is, growing up, like, I never really was in touch with my divine feminine. So that's just my luck, so you hurt. But I never really was in touch with my divine feminine. I wasn't really allowed to. I mean, when I was like a like young, like I want to say like 5, 6, and between like the ages like 5 to like 10, 11, I kind of, that Disney princess phase. Like I used to play with Bratz dolls, Barbie dolls, dress up, wear pretty stuff. And like my parents were pretty nice to me about it. They'll let me put makeup on, but I was never allowed to like go to school. And but I do hear stories of like people who are not allowed to wear makeup like at all because like they don't want to nobody sexualizing their children, especially a minor. But like I was allowed to wear like lip gloss and makeup, and then they would let me even like go out and like play in the neighborhood with other friends. So I actually didn't have like that bad of a childhood growing up when it came to like financials. I always had a lot of friends. And I used to say like, how do I attract so many friends? Like I would just talk to somebody, one conversation in, and then we're already hanging out or we're already cool. I never really had to like stress anything, and I think that also is a part of pretty privileges. You don't really have to put in a lot of effort to really be somebody's friend. Like I usually have people like calling my cell phone. But at the time I didn't have a cell phone. But when I got older, I have people like calling me, inviting me places, wanting me to go with them on like their little freaky third wheel dates. And I don't know. I just always was outside, always was doing something, always roller skating, always at the mall. Like I never could say like I never did anything when I was a child. So I could say my parents did play a hand in that, but this is just me not realizing about my pretty privilege and how this could actually help other young girls who are in like their kind of pre puberty stage, or it can go in your teen stage, because this lasted for years. Like I didn't really like realize that like I was in this pretty privileged category until I was out of college, moved out, and then I figured it out like, wait, like this is why I do get treated this way. And then I never would embrace like how I am as a person. But growing up, I had a really, really narcissistic mother. And my sister, on the other hand, I want to call her the golden child. I was more of the black sheep of the family. So, and then she got older, and then she usually like the golden child, they get older, and then they realize like nothing else is golden anymore. Like, you don't get like praised for a lot of like your bad behavior, or you don't get praised for anything, because once you get older and you're an adult, nobody cares about you anymore, but you and you paying your bills. But my thing is, she turned into like actually a really, really bad narcissist. But I always had that like jealousy entanglement with like my sister and my mom, and they do say one of the worst things you can ever have is a narcissistic parent, or a narcissistic mom specifically, not a narcissistic dad, because you were birthed by your mom. Your mom is your world. Like that's like the first thing you see. You hear her voice when you're young. She's actually the reason why I became like fearful avoidant. So like one day I would come in and she was happy, and then one day she would come in mad, and it'll be over like little things like, oh, you left your dirty socks at the door, like stuff that's not even worth getting really mad. It's just like, okay, we'll pick it up, put it, like I'm a child, like, I'm a child. But my thing is, just very small minuscule things, and trying to shape, she would use like degrading statements against me, um kind of like, oh, you're getting bigger. And then like it's like, okay, I'm a kid. We eat McDonald's, we eat food, we get bigger. And then I know, like, in the eyes of a child, it's not something you really should be saying to them. When you get older, I feel like it's a little bit different because, like, you can kind of, like, shut it down, ignore it, not really take it as seriously. But growing up, you don't need to be hearing that because you're still in, like, a developmental process. So, like, that's kind of how you see your body image, like, every day. Like, oh my God, you're so concerned about your weight. Like, I'm getting bigger, I'm getting smaller, and you become so concerned. Then, like, as I got older, I don't want to talk about friends or I don't want to talk about friends or school or any of that. Just like growing up, like my developmental stages when I was at home. My mom will always sexualize my body growing up. Like I didn't, because I'm always was on like the thicker side. Like I kind of have like a bigger butt, and then I had like a tiny waist during the time, and then like I kind of like shot up. Like when I got to my first relationship, my weight like shot up. Like I was in a really really bad toxic relationship, and then it shot down. But around these developmental stages when I was younger, I had like kind of a small waist, bigger butt, bigger breast size. I would put on like a little bit of makeup, but not enough for like my parents to be like, no, like you can't do that. Like I'll just do a little bit of eyeshadow, probably fix up a little bit of brow when I started learning, but I only did like a little bit. I would get my eyebrows done at the Vietnamese place. And my thing is very, very degrading. So that kind of like implanted in my mind. She would say things about like my breasts, and it actually is like now it's creepy. Like I forgive her 100 times, like because she probably just didn't know no better. But like I kind of don't get like I keep like a distance from her. And it's really hard having a narcissistic mom. It's very, very hard, and it's very damaging on your brain. So I really highly recommend if you have a narcissistic mom or a narcissistic parent in general, please go get a therapist. Or there's a lot of helplines to talk to. Like, there's a community. You can talk to me in the comments. Like, I will respond. And I one day want to make like a community page, like a Reddit page for people that are like me to talk in. Anyways, that having that kind of in the back of my head, like, oh, you're bigger, you're eating too much of this, you're eating too much of that. Then on top of that, I didn't really see myself as like pretty because like a lot of times like my mom would say like very like passive things, and I'm not gonna put all of this stuff in there. But like then you would have my sister next to me saying like, oh, like you came in here and you thought you were so cute. Like when you're I know, especially a lot of like black girls, black young girls, we've experienced this. Like, oh, you put on that short mini skirt and you think you cute, take that off. Or like everything like I wore was like a problem. And then I started noticing that like I wore like a pink shirt, and like I'm a child. So like I'm gonna wear a pink shirt and I'm gonna wear like um blue jeans or something, or like blue pants. I'm a child. I don't have color coordination. And then I will always get like, oh, you don't know how to dress, like you don't know how to color coordinate. But then I realized like as I got older, I started getting a different taste of my style. Like I started like in darker clothes. I was actually like really goth. Still to this day, I love that style, like that goth dark, like dark feminine style. And I really started getting in touch with that at a very young age. Honestly, like I started dressing like really dark when I was like 16 or 17, but it was like still not enough to please my family. So I mean, it was just that's when I started to realize like, oh, I can never win. Like I'll just stick to this style because I can't go out and buy more clothes. So a lot of times it was just like the comments, and then I would go to school, and then I really, really wouldn't think I was really that pretty. Like I didn't think I really deserved to be in a relationship a lot of times, and then, but that's like a whole different topic. But I did used to be in like I used to always have like a relationship, and I think that came with like my attachment style. Like I used to be in elementary school. Like I would have like a boyfriend. Like I would never forget when I was like in fourth grade. Younger than that, I want to say like third grade. second, third grade. I had like a boy one year. I had like two boyfriends, and then like I never told him we broke up, and then I would just get another boyfriend, and yeah, I was everywhere. I was a mess mentally, but like my thing is like I kind of knew I was pretty because like I would have that confidence when I would go to school, but then when I would go home I would kind of get like put down, like, oh, you thought you were cute today. Oh, you got a little boyfriend. Like, you can't have that. Stop. And I noticed, like, as the years went on, like, my mom started realizing how I was with, like, relationships and she stopped talking about them. Like, even, like, to this day, like, we don't talk about, like, no, like, I won't tell her if I'm dating anyone or because she shows, like, no interest. And she does that with my sister as well. But pretty privilege, it kind of it makes you like stand out in a way, and I think like people like gaslight you a lot because they don't want you to know that you're pretty or know that you have like the power to like be better than like where you are right now. And then like I always would judge myself. Like that's one thing growing up. Like I used to always say like, hey, like why are your hips getting too wide or your lips are a little bit too big today. You put on too much of lip gloss, like take off that extra layer. And I think having that like judgmental personality kind of made me like very judgy with like people around me too. And it wasn't just within myself, it was starting to like bleed out with other people. So like, even with like my friends, I became really like kind of like a little bit of a bully sometimes, but like it wasn't as vigorous. I used to be a little bit mean, but it was like I think a lot of that stuff was coming from like being at home and being like in my like toxic home life. Cause like I had like a really, really mean mother. Like she would be like it's like astonishingly mean. Like I would come home and then that was like the last place I wanted to be. I would try to do sports, try to stay after school as much as possible. Because like I did not want to go home because I didn't know what kind of like mood my parents was gonna be in, or like if I was gonna get in an argument that day. And sometimes I would come home exhausted and I didn't feel like cleaning like a normal person, normal child. And then like I would just get yelled at and I just thought it was unfair. And that was like my only thing was like getting yelled at was like it was just too much for me. Like I hate when people like yell. That's like my biggest thing. Like I start getting like a headache. I start feeling sick. Like I hate getting yelled at or yelling at people. I'm very like quiet to myself. But another thing with like being in pretty privilege and kind of like the family dynamic twisted in is like everybody expects you not to fail and hold being held on that like pedestal was very extremely hard because I was always good at like the arts and I would like draw and I like to color. I like to be on my computer. I love video games. Oh my goodness gracious. Like I was a big gamer. Like I would be gaming so hard on my dad's computers and then like his whole computer would like crash and I would like be upset for like days cuz like I couldn't get on his computer. He's like, "You got to stop downloading all these video games. It's too much on the card." And I'm like, "Well, now I know." And it's different now cuz I have like a gaming computer now that I can install like a bunch of crap on there. But I kind of like excel in a lot of things, like except sports. Like that was my only thing I wasn't good at, and then my parents would throw me in sports, and I would plead them like, "Hey, I do not like sports." Like in the beginning, when I was young and I was more fast, like it was different. But like when I kind of got older, like I didn't want to play basketball. I really wasn't into like baseball. I was really into certain sports. So it was kind of like I was looked at like, oh, she could do anything, so let's just make her do. And my schedule was kind of like really tight. So kind of being like looked up to like do a lot of things. And I would fail and I would tell them like, hey, well, I let you know, like, hey, I don't want to do this sport or this activity because like I'm not good at it. And then when I would fail, I would get criticized or my parents would say something to me like very negative, like nothing like, oh, you did good, like good, like you worked hard. just try your best. And it was always like, oh no, like you shot the wrong hoop, or you didn't dribble the ball that much, or you didn't run that fast, or I'm just always was expected to do a good job. A couple more things with like pretty privilege is I still want to stay on the topic of like you can never like kind of fail, and that was like the biggest thing on my brain growing up is I would have like a test. I did really good in school. Like um I would get like A's and B's, really good quiz, test exams, and that wasn't really good. Like especially having like my sister kind of there. Like I want to say in the beginning I was the golden child, and then like it flipped to like my sister because like I got sick of being like that perfect child, and I started realizing how toxic it was. Like it's okay to just fail. Not all the time, but like I would sit there and say, hey, like it is okay not to be good at something. But now she's like all the way the golden child. There's no doubt about that. But my first bully was my mom, and I can honestly say that. And it does get me not as much as it used to, but I used to get like really bad emotional about it because when I would like do stuff for myself, she would kind of look at me like, "Oh, like you thought that was good," or and I would teach myself things like when I used to get my eyebrows done, and this topic stands out so much to me because like I know other girls had this problem, but I used to like put on eyebrows when like it was getting trendy around like 2018, and I will always put like my eyebrow, like put the eyebrow mascara on, and I would put the concealer. Well, this is before I even knew what concealer was. And then I like they looked a hot mess. Like my eyebrows were too big, and I looked crazy. And then like my family would say like a bunch of like mean things to me, like oh they don't even look good. Like they look like big droopy like caterpillars on your face, and yeah, like and they would. And then I got good, and I got good, and then they kind of was just like oh like my dad was a little better. He'll be like oh you look pretty. But my thing is like my mom was always like trying to upstage me, and I think like once I started like doing things, cause she used to do like my hair, and then like that was it. Like I didn't really like tell her like she never would let me go get my nails done. Like I don't even really remember that. Like she would never let me get like acrylics or like a nice set. Like she'll let me go get my nails painted. I do remember like one time having it done, but anything that I wanted to look really like pretty or like to in her eyes, it probably was me trying to be over sexualized or over sexualizing myself. She wasn't really for it. But there was a time where like I started getting like my nails done, like I started doing my hair, like I actually really got good at my natural hair. And I used to like hate my natural hair, and that's like a whole nother story I'm gonna put in there. But when I started getting my makeup together, like I started getting my eyebrows done, then I started learning how to do the lashes. Girl, don't even let them know how to do the lashes. Do not. That's a whole different. That's open a whole different portal right there. So once I started getting these things done, she would like clown me. Like my mom would say, "Oh, like you don't. You look like this. You look like Boo Boo the Fool. You look like." I would get called all these names by like, yep, by my mom and by my sister as well. Like, cause she was kind of like her little assistant in bullying. And when I kind of got good, like, oh, she's good. It's like, okay, well, why don't you help me now and do mine? And it's just like, but you said you didn't like lashes, or you said you didn't like getting your eyebrows done. And I think when they kind of see that, people start getting jealous of you and saying like, oh, like she doing this for herself, like, but why can't she help me? And I have noticed that a lot, like even with like friends, like they'll see you doing, oh well, why can't you do mine? Or like why can't you help me? It's just like, but why not learn from me doing it or watch me do it and go do it yourself? Yeah, I just that's one thing I just never understood. Like I'm not nobody's maid, I'm not nobody's teacher, nobody's mom or mentor. Like I would love to be a mentor of somebody, but not right now. And my thing is, people just get so lazy. Like pretty privilege is not, you don't just wake up and you're pretty, like pretty privilege, you have to put yourself together. And there's a lot of videos on YouTube about this, talking about how it's not just given, it's earned. Like you have to go do your makeup, you have to go do your nails, then you gotta go find the scents. And I'm scents as in perfumes. And that's the last couple of things I'm gonna talk about is like when I used to start putting on perfume and doing my hair a certain way. Like nails was never really, I didn't like too crazy looking nails. I don't like all those like really, really long. I would get coffin shapes and pointy. But one thing about like how my pretty privilege kind of like affected like when I would do my hair is like I would get like picked on when I would do my natural hair. So, and this is just everyone in general because like I didn't know about like my hair type. Like I know I'm like a 4B, 4C, more 4B in the front, 4C in the back, but then like they switch around depending on like what I do to my hair because like sometimes like I can look a little mixed. So when I used to also in like grade school, I used to get called. They used to ask me if I'm like Native American all the time. Like I would get that all the time. Like, are you mixed with something? Because like the way like my eyes are and then my skin. So and I'm not light at all. Like I'm brown, like a chocolate, like a little bit lighter than the chocolate. I don't know what you would call it on this brown scale, but like I'm black. So I mean like I just look a little mixed because like my hair was always like done a certain way, and I think it's just my look, like my fierce look, and I was always different. I stood out in my body features. And that's one thing I noticed too is like when you have pretty privilege, like people think you're mixed. And what does being mixed with pretty privilege? And I think that was like another thing growing up is like a lot of people would kind of throw that in my face, like, oh, you must be mixed. Like, you must have Indian in you. You must have like some type of Asian in you. And I'm like, no, like I'm black. And I would like always say I'm African American. Like, one time my mind like fucked around and said, like, oh, I'm Native American. But like, no, it's okay. Like, black people can be pretty too. And it's just like, that's just so sad to have like a viewpoint like that. But as to each their own. But I used to do my hair. Always had braids, always. And then I started researching, and I stopped letting my mom do my hair. And I used to always be like, why is my scalp so itchy? My hair is so dry. My hair is not growing. And once I started like researching, taking care of my hair, taking the proper vitamins, drinking the right amount of water, and eating important, the right foods is very important as well. How you talk to yourself is very important. Getting enough vitamin, well, sunlight. All of this stuff is really important. And getting up in the morning and talking to yourself, very important. It's very important in telling yourself you're beautiful because, like, how else do you want to progress if you're always telling yourself, hey, I don't look good? So, like, in the beginning, I used to get bullied for doing my natural hair because I didn't know a lot. But once I started doing a lot of research, getting that down, people kind of started respecting me a little bit more. Like, oh, like your hair is really pretty. Like it's really curly because I knew my hair porosity. I knew my hair type. I knew what products go well with my hair. I knew that my scalp doesn't need a lot of oil and grease in it to grow. Like I just use like a sulfur 8 product and essential oil because like my scalp would be so itchy. I would scratch my hair out. It was that bad. So like once I started like figuring it out, and so she have a pretty privilege, people like, oh, well, what are you doing? Tell me the secret. And that's like the biggest thing. Have a pretty privilege. Everybody wants to know the damn secret. Why do y'all want to know the damn secret? Why do I gotta help? I'm not entitled to help anyone, and I get that a lot. Like even at work. And I want to move on to the next topic. Is the way you smell also impacts your pretty privilege. So like you do your hair, your nails, you got everything done. Because pretty privilege is, I mean, you could be pretty without everything, which I classify myself in that category with not. If I didn't do anything, I could have just literally just got my clothes on and I have done and not my lashes, nothing, and I still consider myself in pretty privileged category. So coming from that and me talking to myself very good, starting to realize like this attention that I get, like the hate from like women for no reason at all. Like I'll just go to school and a girl be like, okay, well, I just don't like you. And I'm like, okay, well, why? Oh, I just don't like you. No reason at all. No, nasty looks, no reason. I never even spoke to them. It's just, you start to piece it together as you get older. You start realizing, like, hey, like, I think that was the reason why. Like, and I used to always think it was me. And, like, maybe I'm too bright. Maybe I'm too loud. Maybe I'm too. And no, you're not too nothing. You're extra because in your eyes, be extra. Be extra in front of everybody because in their eyes, they're just hater and they're mad. But last topic is your smell. So I didn't start getting into perfume until I want to say like 17, 18. I was like a late bloomer when it came to smells. Like I used to just like get in the shower, get out, and then like when I got older and I started smelling like I would like walk by women. Like I love women. I'm not sexually attracted to women, but I love like I would just stare at women, like especially like women that are more in touch with their divine feminine, and it has nothing to do. You cannot do your nails, your hair, your makeup, and you could still have like a divine essence with you, and have like people will still be mad at you because it's like all about the way you carry yourself, and it has nothing to do with the 3D looks. But I have like a few women that I would like look up to and admire because they smell good, they look good, they carry themselves so well. They were so like soft and generous. And I'm like, wow, like I can't wait to be like that. And it's actually like really like emotional when you're around somebody who is somebody you look up to, somebody you want to be like. So my thing is, I started like the woman that I actually looked up to. I would start noticing how their smell was, and I wanted to start smelling good. So I would start getting like these little African fish nuts, and I would use them in the shower and like scrub my body. I would start using like body scrubs. Then I started using like you don't even really have to have an expensive perfume, but I used to try to get a lot of expensive perfumes, and that's all I would do. Now I do oils, so I do like a perfume. I do an oil and I put a perfume back on, and I smell amazing. And not like that little body oil stuff. Like no, I get like nice like Arabian oil. But my thing is to conclude is when you are in pretty privilege, like anything you do to like enhance your pretty privilege, people are gonna be really mad times 10. So I've experienced it. If anybody else experienced it, I would love for you to like comment, say something, start a conversation, like this. Because it's true and it's real and people do treat you like a certain way. Like they will try to gaslight you, walk over you because they think you're dumb. I think a lot of times like they think like we're really not that smart because like we get our way with just like our looks. And the grading process was no better. Like I had parents. Well, I don't know if you say parents, but I had that parent that she never stopped. Like her ways never stopped. I would go in the kitchen too, and then she would even like kind of like look at the things that I would eat. Like I would make like a meal, and she would like stare at me like the whole time. Like she was like mesmerized. Like my mom is actually like very creepy sometimes, but then again, like I loved her to death because like that's your mother. You can't really like be that way towards them. But like I love her still to this day. I love her. Like I'm not like that. But like, I will make something and she'll be like, oh, well, don't forget your tomato. You have it left on the side. Like, really, like, she, like, really, at the end of everything, I think my mom really just admires me. But to have, like, a mom admire her child, it kind of just sounds a little like a weird power dynamic type. Like, because you're really supposed to, like, admire your mom. But when you're like, mom admires their child, it's, like, hard to admit and it's hard to really like let your child know in a way like hey like you do things better than me, like I need to learn from you. So I kind of think that's what it was. Like she really just, especially with a pretty privilege, you'll be surprised a lot of people admire you and they just don't know how to say it to you, but they will say it to you in some way, shape, or form. They will tell you in a passive aggressive way, in a jealous way, Because admiration doesn't always come in sunshine and roses and I admire you. It's gonna come in a wide variety of ways. So I started tapping into my divine feminine at a very young age. And I mean, I am divine feminine. Like, I will start talking about a lot of different podcast topics like spirituality. I do want to get in that instead of like just psychology, because that's really important in religion. But Bailey, we are psychology right now. But admiration is really important. You can't put yourself in the box. You have to realize, like, I'm very powerful. I know what I'm worth. I know how it is, and I know God has me on this earth for a really, really big purpose. Like, it's bigger than me. It's bigger than you. It's bigger than everyone. So I know I'm divine feminine. So I never had to really go out my way. Like, I've had my moments. We all have shadow sides. Nobody's perfect. Like, I used to be a little, like, not even a little. I used to be mean. Like, I used to be very mean, very much a bully, because I used to be the one that got bullied. And then when I got sick and tired of it, I started being like the bully, a little to the bullies. And then I kind of was like my own lone wolf. Like, I did my own thing, and I would help the people who didn't have a say, or like I would help the people who were kind of like not as good, not as good or not as good looking or like not as appreciated, or like those are the people I stuck by, and then I helped, and then I wouldn't let the bullies touch them. I was kind of like the justice seeker. So, but there's no reason to be mean or do any of that. But I don't think I started tapping into like my real divine feminine. I don't want to say like the dark femme fatale, like, because I don't really see myself as like a dark femme. Like, I'm kind of just like a normal, because I know they have like the soft girl divine feminine, and they have like a few extra ones, but I don't even know what category I really fit in. I'm gonna have to do some research. But I kind of just see myself as just like focusing on myself, prioritizing myself, and that's like divine feminine right there. Is when you prioritize yourself, and especially like I'm single, I have no kids, I got a few responsibilities, but not no like high responsibilities or like expectations put on me. But that's all I wanted to convey here. This was my first part to Pretty Privilege, and a little background of me experiencing pretty privilege and not realizing that I did have it until like I got older, and how people were like treating me around me that knew that I was very amazingly gorgeous inside and out. So thank you for watching, my ladies. I hope it's my ladies, because if you're anybody else but my ladies, you're getting the tea. What's going on? But thank you for watching. I hope you have a lovely day. Please like, subscribe, and comment, and that will help me so much, because I'm just starting out with these mini podcast talks, and I hope I can do more. So please help me out a bit, and you have a lovely day. Bye.